Good evening.
Do you remember me? I sat upon your knee. I wrote to you with childhood fantasies. Well, I'm all grown up now. Can you still help somehow? I'm not a child, but my heart still can dream. So here's my lifelong wish, my grown-up Christmas list. Not for myself, but for a world in need. No more lives torn apart, and wars would never start, and time would heal the heart. Every man will have a friend, that right would always win, and love would never end. This is my grown-up Christmas list. What is this illusion called the innocence of youth? Maybe only in our blind belief could we ever find the truth. There'd be no more lives torn apart, and wars would never start, and time would heal the heart. Every man will have a friend, and right would always win, and love would never end. my grown-up Christmas list. This is the only lifelong wish. This is my grown-up Christmas wish.
Wow, thank you, thank you. It's so good to have you with us. And Leah, thank you. And welcome to all of you as we gather this evening. I think a lot of us have our grown-up Christmas list as we look at the idea of knowing that love is the energy that sources us, that reminds us of who we are, and that every one of us is created with that infinite. We're going to stand, we're going to do a second song, and we get to do it together. So I just invite you. We're going to do Angels We Have Heard on High.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strain. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Christmas bells in fullness toll, joy and hope fills heart and soul. Christ in all shall ever bless, Prince of Peace in consciousness. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. While the choirs of angels praise, with our heart in love we raise, and the message deep and clear rings throughout the atmosphere. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
All right, now I just invite you to have a seat for a moment. We welcome you this evening as we gather for one of our sacred services. I believe that these special services that we do, whether they're early, ahead of time, they're created with an intention for every one of us to experience the presence of the infinite. We can call it whatever we want, but the desire is that we hold that place in our hearts. And so this evening is a celebration of Christmas. And to many of us, Christmas has meant many different things. We don't believe we're just celebrating something that happened 2,000 years ago. And that event, that birth that happened 2,000 years ago, is an invitation to recognize the divine aspect in every being. And when we can have that same birth and that awakening within our hearts, and to celebrate what happens today, recognizing that it's a prototype, it's an ancient story. Carl Jung talked about the ancient stories, the stories of a people. And this Christmas story is our story. And so I just invite you, wherever you've been today, and I have a feeling a few of us have been busy, life's been all over the place. You might say, things are crazy. I just invite you, wherever you've been, whatever's been on your plate or on your heart, to just move in to that center, to recognizing the divine in you, the divine in every one of us, reminds us that we are whole, infinite, complete, and connected. And let's begin this service in prayer. And we open with a realization that this infinite presence, one power, expands both within us and around this globe, always expanding, always expressing. And as we open to that divine essence within our hearts, we allow and acknowledge and celebrate an awakening of the realization that we are always connected, that love lives as us this day. And we set that intention and hold that space for all of humanity, remembering what is important, that there is love, that we are each whole, infinite, and complete, and that together we create love. And so it is. Amen. And so I just want to share with you a little of what's happening tonight. As some of you have come to many of our candlelighting services, I believe in this community they've had about 95 of them, from what I can tell. I've been at a few of them, 17 of them or so, but they have been having them for many, many years. And the idea of a candle lighting is always that when we light our candles, we're acknowledging that light that is within ourselves. And so this holiday season, we have been doing that and adding light. And I wanted to share with you that some of the things that are coming up in our community, to start with, let's see, actually I'm going to go back. We always start with one candle lit. To me, that represents the quantum field, the very energy of the universe. It's creative. We know that it creates through any of us when we open to it. And the realization that light, and this is one of many celebrations of light. Hanukkah is one, Kwanzaa is one, Santa Lucia Day just happened, and many schools celebrated that. These celebrations of light, and in this tradition we have celebrated Advent and the coming of the light, so you may have grown up with those ideas. All of them represent the idea that where there is a darkness, we can always bring light. And right now in this country, I believe that's what we're being asked to do, is to be the light and to hold that intention for light. In our community right now, there are many things that I'd love to invite you to. We will be here, of course, we'll be here on Sunday, and we'll be here every Sunday, and even on Christmas Day and on New Year's Day. So we'd love to have you be a part of that with us. On December 30th, for those of you who say, what do I want in this new year? And you haven't really set your intentions, we actually do another 7 p.m. evening service where we both burn and let go of what we are ready to let go of. Anybody have a few things this year they'd like to let go of? There's a few. And we also then set intentions for this coming year. So that'll be on Friday, December 30th. 2 weeks from today. We'll be here on the 1st for the service, and then there's a treasure mapping workshop with Lynn and Colleen. They'll be sharing that right after that service. Our white stone ceremony, which is probably the most popular service we ever do, where you actually receive a white stone from the Holy Land, and we do a meditative process, will be on Sunday, January 8th. So I invite you to be a part of that, and then I'll do a workshop on new beliefs for a new year. So we've got lots of things happening. I wanted to just take a moment and say how happy I am that all of you are here. If you're new, we have a guest packet for you. Is there anybody here for the first time, or you haven't been here in a long time? Just raise your hand and we'll give you a guest packet. Anybody want one? We've got a couple. I know a couple of you already got them, so we're happy to have you all with us. And do you want one? No, I didn't think so. So that's okay. We'll get you one later. It's good to have all of you here. What we know about every being who walks through these doors, and every being, is that every one of us is on a spiritual journey. It's a sacred journey. We've come to figure our own way out and to be a part of it, and yet we are always a part of something so much more, and we know that that divine is within you. So we are going to do our we're going to actually now do another one. You get to sing again. We're going to do Joy to the World. And thank you to our wonderful singers up here.
I'm feeling joy, 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 joy. I'm feeling joy, 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 joy. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare the room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Now we get to see the joy. I'm seeing joy, 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 joy. I see it. I'm seeing joy, 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 joy. Love rules the world with truth and grace and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness and wonders of his love and wonders of his love and wonders, wonders of his love. I'm knowing joy, 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 joy. I'm knowing joy, 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 joy. I'm knowing joy, 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 joy. Last time, I'm knowing joy, joy, joy. Joy, joy, joy.
Oh, yes. And I just invite you to turn to those around you and just say, welcome. It's so good to have you here. I see the light in you, as you. All right. Thank you, thank you. You know, I want to be sure and light these candles, and I want to welcome any of you who are celebrating at home. I know that our virtual family, there's many of you who have said you wanted to be here and be a part of this, and what a blessing it is for us to gather together. We've been celebrating what's called Advent. Now, some of you grew up in traditions where that was a very serious thing, and it was 4 weeks before Christmas. I grew up in a tradition that always said it had to do with adding ideas in consciousness. And so all I knew was that we added light whenever there wasn't enough. Whenever our lives weren't working, we added other ideas and thoughts. And so this past few weeks, we've been holding this idea of adding each week another idea and another light. And, you know, Advent as a word means the coming. And so this celebration, and of course what I learned in Egypt, was that this didn't start in this tradition. It's thousands and thousands of years old, this time of preparing for the coming of something more, of a deeper understanding or a way of seeing the world differently. And so it's, as we celebrate this season of many lights, please remember during this holiday time, there are 27 different holidays, most of them having to do with light. And so all of this has to do with bringing light when there's dark. And so I just think it's so important. And we lit our first candle for this idea of hope. We'll see if I can do it with this one. And, you know, that idea of hope, that hope is it's an inner choice. And I was always amazed when I heard it has nothing to do with what's going on around us. Because usually we can say, I can have hope if this happens. Hope is actually an innate quality that we activate when we're willing to believe in a larger story. Ram Dass with his, we're all just walking each other home. That was a larger story, and that's what we're moving towards. The second candle we lit for peace. And the word peace comes from that Greek word passare, meaning to be in agreement with. And when we can be in agreement with our soul, with our knowledge, there's something so much more than what we may see. We find a larger picture for ourselves and for others. And this third candle, we lit this past week for love. And this idea that love is the healing, harmonizing power in the universe. That, as Pierre de Chardin said, love is literally the only energy that is available in this quantum field. And that we're all connected. And that was said in the 50s before there was much, many of these ideas were around. And we also light this last candle for joy. And while many of us have said, how can there be joy when things are happening there? I go back to Pierre de Chardin, and he said, joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. We find joy when we can find God in our, and I'm not talking about a guy up there. I'm talking about an eternal quality of love, of light, of presence. And so when we can find that in our lives, we find something so much more. And I didn't let you guys sing this, so are you going to sing for us? Good. I talked way too long.
It was beautiful. Perfect.
Oh, my heart, this night rejoices as I hear far and near sweetest angel voices. Love is here, their choirs are singing, fill the air everywhere, now with joy is ringing. Oh, my heart, this night rejoices as I hear far and near sweetest angel voices. Love is here, their choirs are singing, fill the air everywhere, now with joy is ringing.
Thank you, thank you. All my heart this night rejoices. You know, many of you were raised with an idea of being born again. I actually just want to share something with you. The Bhagavad Gita said we are born into a world of nature. Our second birth is into a world of spirit. I just invite you, if you hear that word or if it triggers you, to translate it into the ability to open my heart to the spirit, the essence of my spirit, and the divine aspect of me, because that's where we're truly moving. And it's the opportunity to find that larger sacred place.
I don't care if the house is packed or the strings of light are broken. I don't care if the gifts are wrapped or there's nothing here to open. Love is not a toy, and no paper will conceal it. Love is simply joy that I'm home.
I don't care if the carpet's stained, we got food upon our table. I don't care if it's gonna rain, our little room is warm and stable. Love is who we are, and no season can contain it. Love would never fall for that. We sing, ooh. Let love lead us. Love is Christmas.
Why so scared that you'll mess it up when perfection keeps you haunted? All we need is your best, my love. That's all anyone ever wanted. Love is how we do. Let no judgment overrule it. Love, I look to you and I sing.
Finn and Leah, thank you, thank you. Let love lead us. Love is Christmas. And Michael, thank you, thank you. And Sean, thank you for being here with us also. We are so appreciative. Wow. That's what this celebration is. It's so true. this idea that within us is enough, regardless of whether the carpet's stained or we have what we think we need or don't need. Anybody here have a list to do for the next who knows how long of what we have to get done? Some of us do. It's like this has to happen and that has to happen for this to happen. But what we're doing tonight is holding that space of the sacred and celebrating the idea of Christmas, the love of the universe expanding in our heart wherever we are and whatever's happening in our journey. And when we do, we find that these places expand. I talked a little bit about Carl Jung earlier. You know, he founded a whole movement of study saying that for any people, their sacred stories and traditions offer insight into their very beings and their souls. And so some of us may have said, I don't even believe this story. How can I hold that as the sacred story? What I'm inviting you to do is to take an idea that this is a sacred story of a people. Very possibly and very probably you're one of those people. And so you can say, what does it show me? What can I learn? Because our DNA has aspects of these sacred stories in them. And when we can open to what it will teach us, not necessarily the stories of it happened this way and this is it and this is it and this is it, and we think, wait a minute, what is this? But when we can take these stories, we find something so much more. And when we do, something else happens in us. If you haven't already in your own life, I would invite you to open to the idea that the aspect of the divine is within you. That's what this tradition, that whole idea is what it was founded on. The idea that when humanity remembers that this essence is within them, every one of us, and finds it for themselves and then tells another, we change the world. And so that ability to have that and to realize that, you know, unity as a movement was founded in the late 1800s in the middle of Kansas City, Missouri. They were considered crazy. They were thrown out of several places because of these ideas where they said, we're not worshiping someone out there. This being was a wisdom teacher, just like Buddha, just like others, that came to teach us that idea. You can call it the Christ. What Christ means and what it meant at that time was the anointed one. And it was speaking of a quality or an aspect of the people that had that title, Christ. Jesus was not the only one at that time that had that label. And what he said was, this that I do, you can do also, and greater. It was a message, and if you look at that message and not all the pieces about it, you find, wait a minute, that story is my sacred story of how do I allow this birth to happen in my life. And I bet you right now, you can find a place in your life that you would like to see a birth of a larger idea, of a larger story. And when we do that, something else happens. I mean, this Christmas story is a mystical coming together. It's a journey of new birth. And this birth is a story of chaos. Anybody got one of those right now? Think about it. Mary and Joseph were told they were with child. Now, for Mary, she knows that's illegal. You can be killed for that. And she says, well, here I am. What do? I take this journey. They had to go to Bethlehem in order to be counted. That had never happened before. That was another piece of chaos. There was no room in the inn. All these different pieces. What Charles Fillmore said in the early 1900s, he said, Jesus brought forth the awareness of the divine essence of humanity, and that essence has to be born into consciousness in our higher self. When people don't find that they honor another being, somewhere in there, they weren't told, we all have this essence of light within us. Anybody grow up with those old ideas? A few of you did. A lot of us did. We heard those. And Charles Fillmore said, this idea within us is constantly coming forth. And he said, Christmas does not belong to the past. It's a vital, living, present truth if we will allow it to lift us. And it's not a work that's finished in Bethlehem the first time we go. Instead, it's about the birth of a consciousness within our hearts, within our minds, within our understanding over and over and over again that we bring forth. And so when we start saying, I want to live this story, we're not trying to follow somebody else's story, although, and of course my favorite part of it is always the donkey, because she went to Bethlehem on the back of a donkey, and if you've ever tried to ride a donkey or train one, it is untrainable. It goes, I love the donkey races at the only rodeo I've ever been at, because all the donkeys ran in all different directions. And I thought, and that's how we're getting to this sacred story of this birth. We're going on that donkey. And I will, but when we speak of a Christmas story, it's a story of all these pieces coming together because people were willing to go beyond the little story they had. Mary was willing to say, there's more here. I'm going to walk the journey because it's in my world. Joseph said, well, okay, I don't know what happened. I'm walking the journey. The innkeeper said, I don't have room for you here, but why don't you go out there and you can have this baby out there. Another aspect that I just want to share is that the Christmas story didn't start with Mary and Joseph. If you go back and look, the Christmas story started with wise men taking a trip approximately 2 years before that baby was born. That meant a year and 3 months before any of it started. There were men following a star from the east, and the east always symbolizes the spiritual realm. They saw a star, and there was something large enough in them that they were willing to follow it, even when there wasn't anything happening yet. Do we have the courage to follow something that our heart believes is possible, and yet we may not be able to tell anybody about it because we can't see it around us? But that idea, they're called wise men because what we know about them is that they were a group of people in Arabia, Mesopotamia, and possibly even Persia, and they were men that came from there that were considered to have large amounts of knowledge. So wise men was a pretty good, the magi. They represent a coming together of wisdom, a synthesis of wisdom. And they came and followed that star when no one else had the courage to. So when I look for Christmas, what I'm looking for is the ability for us to follow a larger, heartfelt belief than we may have seen before. Now, the star is another form of light. I always heard that stars are ideas from the infinite and that we are called to follow them. But when I say, how do I find Christmas? How do I live Christmas? How do I do Christmas? I realize for me, Christmas is born in me when I have the courage to follow my heart, to follow a belief that I'm worthy, that I have within me what I need, that I will make it through, even when it might not feel like I might be doing that. One of the books that I keep next to my bed is Across That Bridge by John Lewis. And I keep it there because periodically I just pick it up. And it's a book of the wisdom he learned as he met the times of the civil rights movement. And of course, in later years, as he served as a congressman. What I know is that every one of the pieces of what it takes to cross the bridge that he crossed required an inner wisdom and belief that was stronger than anything that he could see. And he said, I've been rejected, hated, oppressed, beaten, jailed, and have almost died only to live another day. I have witnessed betrayal, corruption, bombing, lunacy, conspiracy, and even assassination, and I have still kept marching on. And despite every attempt to keep me down, I have not been shaken. I have held on to my mind and my faith. And he said, nothing can stop the power of a committed and determined people to make a difference in our society. Why? Because human beings are the most dynamic link to the divine on this planet. And he said, our struggle was not about politics. It was about seeing a philosophy made manifest in our society that recognized the inextricable connection we have to each other. And those ideals represent what is eternally real, and they are still true today. And freedom isn't a state, it's an act. To me, that's Christmas. That's the story of the awakening of something larger. And this year, when I looked around me and I said, where did I see Christmas? I realized I saw it in the lives of people that had the courage to just say, I may be blowing at all these other places, but I'm me, and I believe I have the right to take this step. I believe who I am is enough to be in this place, to do this thing. I watched a friend who has continued to heal from wounds in a war and continued to say, I'm more than what happened to me. I watched another friend meet death and say, I can love even when my body's falling away. I watched another say, I am more than this dis-ease, and begin a whole different way of thinking and being and seeing. And I watched one of our young kids on Sunday stand up here and say, I'm enough to read these crazy words that somebody's given me on my first Sunday. Because that's an act of Christmas, allowing something more to be born in us. So we might think we have to be John Lewis or someone else, but I believe who we're asked to be and what Christmas asks of us is that we are who we are with all of the messy pieces, and that we stand in a belief that we are inextricably connected, never to be disconnected, because we're love, and we came in this body, in this time, in this place to touch the lives that we have around us. So as we move into a part of getting to do a candle lighting, my invitation to every one of us is to allow that essence to be birthed in you, because life is calling it forth in every way possible. Merry Christmas to those ideas. So we have an opportunity now. We're doing a love offering. If you'd like to give electronically, in the backs of all the seats, there are these cards here. If you're online, you can go onto our website, and this slide will be up there. We're so happy if you'd like to do that. We have a blessing that we use, and we're doing it now because we'd like to be able to do this candle lighting next. We have a blessing that we use, and it's divine love. As me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I'd invite you to affirm that with me. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary soul rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious when Christ was born. Oh, night divine, oh, night divine. Fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angel voices. Oh, night divine. Oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine. Oh, night divine.
Thank you, thank you. Wow. You know, before we start our candle lighting, I want to light these 4 candles, and they have to do with our journey. As we are celebrating tonight, this first candle represents that Christ presence within you and all of humanity. If you haven't acknowledged it and accepted that presence within you, I invite you to do that now. The second candle we light honors all of the journeys you have taken to this point. We've had many journeys. Honor them. All of the journeys you've taken to this day. They are sacred. They teach us. This third candle honors the journeys you are on now. They are also sacred. They will teach us. They will expand us. We will learn from them. And this fourth candle we light to say we honor this, Eve, that there is a larger story for every one of us. It's in our hearts, it's present, it's available, and it is holding itself as you now. And the ability to hold that, the birth of a larger consciousness, the birth of a deeper understanding, the birth of a memory that our DNA has of who we really are. And so I just invite you to hold that and to know that in your heart. And I'm going to just say a little bit about the candle lighting, and then we'll move into that. First, if you haven't already done so, I would encourage you to take the blessing off of the bottom of your candle. When you came in, you received a candle. I don't believe there's any mistakes. You know, the first candle lighting I did, and some of you have heard this story for years, but it still is something that for me has changed me in so many ways. I did a candle lighting service because a minister was sick. I was given about an hour's notice. Let me tell you, I was not a minister. I wasn't even ordained at that point. But I remember saying, what am I going to do? And the blessing on my candle was from Exodus 4:12. I will be thy mouth and teach thee what thou shalt say. And I decided either I believed or I didn't. And that was really the journey I've been on the whole time. So tonight, as you take that off and get to hold that, I just invite you to keep it with you. It will, in the next year, you'll understand it. I have mine taped on several different places in my house, and what a blessing it is just to remember some of these. They're affirmations this evening. And so as we light candles, first of all, does everybody have a candle? Does anybody need any? Wonderful. We will get you a candle. Anybody else need a candle? what we do have to do is go through the safety procedures, because Beth is in the back and she doesn't want to have to clean any of the chairs. So first of all, any of you who have a candle that's lit, and I will come down the aisle and Lynn will also, and we will help light your candle. I'm going to invite you to hold that candle up so that it doesn't go anywhere. And anyone who has an unlit candle, thank you, Leah, they get to light it by bending that candle over and then holding it. I'd also invite you, just watch. When you light another light for a moment, there's double the flame. Both lights are brighter. That's because when we do this, our life, it just shifts and we move. And so for just a moment, as we prepare to do this candle lighting, I would invite you to close your eyes and open your heart into receiving the awareness of the presence of the infinite light in the universe into your heart. And as
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
why don't you join us?
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
And I just invite you to lift your candle up for a moment and just look around the room and recognize sometimes we've been told you don't have a light, or I believed it. Now's the time to say, I have a light. I am a light. And when we hold those lights together, the world changes because there's light. There's awareness. There's ideas. There's the infinite. And if anyone has ever told you you do not have the light, take in that light now. And tell your heart and your soul and your being, I have light. I am light. And this night, this day, this year, I live that light. I am that light. Why don't we sing it again? Silent night, holy night, always calm. All is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. And we all add our blessings, our light to this blessing, knowing that we, every one of us here, every one of us willing to hold that light, are part of the evolution of humanity, of the awakening. And always, always, it begins with that light in our heart. I want to read you something that was written on Christmas Eve, 1513, 500 and, what would that be, 9 years ago? By Father Giovanni to the future. To you on this day I salute you. I am your friend, and my love for you goes deep. There is nothing I can give you which you have not, but there is much, very much, that while I cannot give it, you can take. No heaven can come to us unless our hearts find rest in it today. Take heaven. No peace lies in the future, which is not hidden in this present little instant. Take peace. The gloom of the world is but a shadow. Behind it, yet within our reach, is joy. There is radiance and glory in darkness, could we but see. And to see, we have only to look. I beseech you to look. Life is so generous a giver, but we, judging its gifts by their covering, cast them away as ugly or heavy or hard. Remove the covering, and you will find beneath it a living splendor, woven of love by wisdom with power. Welcome it, grasp it, and you touch the angel's hand that brings it to you as light. Everything we call a trial, a sorrow, or a duty, believe me, that angel's hand is there. The gift is there, and the wonder of an overshadowing presence. Your joys, too. Be not content with them as joys. They, too, conceal diviner gifts. Life is so full of meaning and purpose, so full of beauty beneath its covering, that you will find earth but cloaks your heaven. Courage, then, to claim it. That is all. But coverage you have, and the knowledge that we are pilgrims together, wending through unknown country home. And so at this time I greet you, not quite as the world sends greetings, but with profound esteem and with a prayer that for you, now and forever, the day breaks and the shadows flee away. I just invite you to take this into your heart and know that this silent night is your night, is your light, is the love that you are. Let's just do one more verse. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child. Holy Oh, yes. And so as we have the opportunity to blow out our candles, take that light into your heart. The light's never gone. It's always there, always present. And I just invite you to quietly know this and to allow this sacred movement to happen in your heart. Because light is always present, available, and within you. And so when you're ready, you can blow out that candle. And we know that those lights are always present, always within us. And I'm going to do a closing prayer in just a moment. And I'd invite you this evening to truly know that you came knowing the truth of your being. Reverend Dr. Leon Campbell wrote this Christmas, let's remember this. We are more than just the presents under the tree. We are more than cookies, candies, and cocoa with cream. We are more than just kisses under the mistletoe. We are more than just songs that we sing. Let's remember that we are so much more than silver and gold. We are one of the greatest stories untold, for you are the light shining for all time. You are the light, and your everyday gift is to shine. And so we close with this unity prayer, that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And we say thank you, Infinite Spirit, for the opportunity to gather together, to know the truth of who we are, and to hold that for all of humanity as we awaken to a larger story. Have a love-filled Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. And I do believe we're going to get lights on. Yes. Have a love-filled week.
Silent night, holy night, darkness flies, darkness flies, see the light, shining love in thy holy face. With the dawn of revealing grace, love and light of the world, love and light of the world.
And we say thank you to our wonderful, wonderful musicians, all of our singers tonight. Thank you for the love that you shared with us. Thank you for our sound and our live stream and all of those who helped. Thank you. Have a love-filled evening, friends.